They can able to modify the existing database, or they can able to create data from the database. Both name and age can be stored in the computer system or any electronic device. I want to protect the data. For that, I must have database management administrator. Objects are mainly used to represent real world entities. Hello to all, a warm welcome to my new session on digital fluency, and the topic name here is database management system. I'm Revati from the Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram, first grade college, Temple of Excellence, MYSURU. So dear student, in my today's session, at the beginning, I'm going to deal with data. That is, what is data? Along with that, I'm going to deal with what is database. Along with that, I'm going to deal with what is database management system. Along with that, I'm going to deal with types of database. So dear student, these are the topics I'm going to cover in my today's session. Before going to start my today's session, let's revise the topic which I have covered in my last session. So dear student, I started with the type of artificial intelligence. That is nothing but the different types of artificial intelligence. Along with that, I covered applications of AI. There's nothing but the different areas where we can able to make use of AI. These are the two topics I have covered in my last session. But from the examination point of view, these two are very important topic. Anyway, dear student, in my today's session, I'm going to deal with data. So what is data in general? We know that data is nothing but the raw fact or statistic or figures, and that can be stored or recorded. Then it is called data. So here data can be defined as a presentation of fact. So what it is nothing but the fact, or it may be any concepts, or it may be any instruction in a formalized manner which should be suitable for communication. That means data must be suitable for any communication, even interpretation of data or processing by a human or by the electronic machine. So what is this electronic machine? That is nothing but the computer machine. Now, dear student, let me to consider my name and age itself. For example, think that my name is Revati. My name is Revati and my age is 29. Now, by seeing these two, what you're going to understand? Here, I can able to understand that Revati is nothing but my name. That is nothing but text. That is nothing but text. If I consider my age, what you're going to understand? That is, it's nothing but number. It's nothing but number. So here data can be any text or any number or any video files, image, audio files. All these things are treated as data, because here to store the text, I have character. To store number, I'm going to have integer data type. So here both name and age can be stored in the computer system or any electronic device. And same data is used for communication as well as processing. So what is data here? Data is nothing but the raw fact or unprocessed data that can be stored or recorded in the electronic machine. So it is called data. Now, data is represented with the help of, that means data can be represented with the help of alphabets. That means I can able to consider uppercase alphabet as well as lowercase alphabet with the help of digit. That means along with alphabet I can able to use digit. And what kind of digit? That is 0 to 9. Even I can able to use special characters like plus symbol, minus symbol, equal sign, etc. These are the special characters. So here data can be represented by using alphabets, digits as well as special character. Anyway, dear student, I came to know that what is data. From this data, I'm going to derive database. In short, I'm going to write DB. So what is this DB? That is nothing but collection of related data. Collection of related data. For example, name and age. Name and age. So here I have only one person name and age. When I have multiple person name, that is nothing but more than 2 users information, then it is treated as database. That is nothing but collection of related data items. So what is database here? That is nothing but collection of related data item. So here a database is a place. So it is nothing but a place where all the data gets stored in a structured format. So database is a place where I'm going to store all the data in the structured format. So what is structured format? There is nothing but the aligned format, or all the data are arranged in the form of tables. When I say it is table, there's nothing but the rows and columns. That means all the data are organized in the form of rows and columns. So it helps the user to easily access the data, manage the data as well as update the required information. So dear student, in other words, a database as a big container. So what database? It's nothing but a big container or big storage area or repository where all the informations about website, application is stored in a structured form. So what is database here? It is nothing but the repository or container where I can able to store all the information related to the website. Along with that, I can able to store applications. So the example here that a company can have various detail. For example, if I consider any company, what is the main resource? That is nothing but the employee. So each company will have employee names, employee ID, email, blood group, salary, and so on. So all these details are stored in a database with the name called employee. That means I'm going to store all the informations like name, email ID, employee ID, blood group, as well as salary in my database with the database name employee. And how I'm going to store? In the structured format. That is nothing but in the form of tables. When I say it is table, that is nothing but rows and columns. That means data are arranged in the form of rows and columns. From database, I'm going to derive database management system. So dear student, actually I started with data. From data, I derived database. Now from database, I'm going to derive database management system. Now I have collection of related data. To manage that database, I required some technology or some software or some technique. That is nothing but database management system. So here the database management system is nothing but the application software. It allows the user to create the database, maintain the database, access the database, as well as manage the database. So dear student, if I see this diagram, I'm having various usage of database. And how I'm going to use the database? With the help of application program interface. And this is nothing but my database. That is nothing but repository, or it is nothing but the container or repository used to store website information as well as application information, and which is used by various users as well as various resource. Now let's see what is database management system. So with the help of database management system, you can very easily create database, retrieve the content from the database, as well as you can able to update the data in the database. Now the database management system consists of group of commands. So dear student, here database management system includes group of commands to manipulate database and act as a interface. So what database management system includes? Only a group of commands, and that is mainly used to manipulate database, and it's also going to act as an interface between all the end users and database. So a database management system also aim to facilitate an overview of database by providing a variety of administrative operations such as tuning, performance, monitoring, as well as backup and recovery. That means the database management system is responsible for performing tuning of the database, improve the performance of the database, as well as monitor the database, as well as take the backup, as well as perform the recovery of the database. And this is the job of the database management system. Now, if I consider database management system, the most frequently I'm going to use these terminology. That is defined data. So dear student, we know what is data. Now I want to define the data. So it allows the user to create, modify and delete the definitions which define the organization of the database. So what is defining data? User can able to create the database or modify the database or can able to delete the database. Along with that, I'm going to have update data. So it provides the access to the user. That means database management system allows the user to insert the data, modify the data and delete the data from the database. That means user can able to insert new data to the database or they can able to modify the existing database or they can able to create data from the database. Now, the next terminology, retrieve data. That means it allows the user to retrieve the data from the database. So, retrieve means what? Access the data which is stored in the database. The last terminology, administration of user. So, registers the user and monitors their action. If I consider database management system, we are mainly going to use database to store the data. That means DBMS software is mainly used to store the data. Now this DBMS contains a huge number of data. Now I want to protect the data. For that, I must have database management administrator. The job of the administrator is to set the privilege. So here registers the users. That is, registration of the user is done by the administrator, monitors their action, enforces data security, maintenance data integrity, monitors performance as well as deals with the concurrence control. These are the job of the administration of user. So dear student, anyway, we came to know that what is database management system and what are the terminology we are going to encounter in database management system, that is define data, update data, retrieve data and administration of data. Anyway, dear student, till now we came to know that what is data, what is database as well as database management system. Along with that, different terminologies used by the database management system. But now I'm going to deal with the different types of database management system. So here at the beginning, I'm going to have hierarchical database. So what is this hierarchical database? The data are represented in the form of tree structure. So the databases which is represented in the form of tree structure is known as hierarchical database. So it uses the style of predecessor as well as successor type relationship. For example, think that if I consider this is my root of the tree, then I'm going to have the predecessor. And if I consider this is my successor, for this I'm going to have the predecessor. So this kind of data representation is called hierarchical database management system. So here data are represented in the form of tree. When it is tree is going to have the root along with bunches. So where the nodes are the trees are represents records. So here root nodes are mainly used to represent records, whereas bunches of the tree represents fields. So bunches of the tree represents fields. For example, if I consider student database, so here student database is nothing but the root and fields like serial number, name, student ID. These are nothing but the branches, or these are the fields. Then the second type of database here is relational database. So here the database type itself indicates that it is relational. So what is this relational? That is nothing but the databases are represented in the form of rows and columns. That is nothing but tables. For example, think that this is my student database. So at the beginning, I'm going to have roll number, name and mark. Now, if I have the records, then this is the example for relational database. That means the databases are represented in the form of tables. This type of database management system has a structure which allow the user to identify and access the relation to the another piece of data in the database, and all the data are stored in the form of tables. Whatever the data I have, all the data are arranged in the form of table, and it is known as database management system. Now I'm going to have network database. So what is this network database? This is also a type of database management system which is going to support many to many relationship. So what is this many to many relationship? That means, see here, this is one database and this is one database. When there exist many relationship, then it is called network database. So it supports many to many relationship where multiple user records can be linked. That means by using network database management, we can able to link multi-user records with many to many relations. Now I'm going to have object-oriented database. That means here databases are treated as objects. So here objects are mainly used to represent real world entity. This type of database management system uses small individual software called object. So here object oriented database management system uses small database or small software, and it is known as object. And the objects are mainly used to represent real world entity or real world problems, and it's mainly used to represent piece of data as well as instruction. And once again, I'm going to deal with relational database management system. So what is this relational database management system? That means the data are represented in the form of tables. That is nothing but rows and columns. That means the data are organized in the form of table. So I have rows and I have columns, and this kind of data representation is known as relational database management system. So this type of database management system has a structure. So it uses well-defined structure which allows the user to identify the data as well as access the data in the relation. So what is relation here? That is nothing but table. To obtain a piece of data in the database, so here data are stored in the form of table. Table means what? I have columns and I have rows, and this kind of representation is the best example for relational database management system. Anyway, dear student, in my today's session, I started with what is data. Along with that, I have covered the different types of database management system. But in my next session, I'm going to deal with data science. Anyway, dear student, let's meet in the next session with the new topic, database management system. Until that, keep watching and keep learning. Thank you.